Hello and welcome back to my channel, Crafty Concepts with Erin. I'm Erin and I'm here today with the creative design team, and we're bringing you ideas for stamping on layouts. I think most of us can agree that as paper crafters, we love to buy the stamps. They're awesome, they're pretty, and they inspire us, but we don't always reach for those stamps. So I'm here today to show you several ways you can incorporate stamping onto your scrapbook layout. I have several papers left over. You can tell I've already cut into these. They were all 12 by 12 and then a couple zip strips from the current July and August mix-in paper pack. I'm also going to be using a wood grain from the current wood grain paper pack from the annual catalog. I absolutely love these wood grains. They just go so well with so many projects. And of course, we're going to be doing a lot of stamping. So I'll show you the stamps I'm using today. I have 3 photos I've printed. This is one of my besties and I, and we're just relaxing at a beautiful lake in South Dakota on a vacation we took just this summer, and we're paddleboarding and just really enjoying the afternoon. So I want to do like a lake life layout. I pulled a bunch of my stamps that I thought would go well. So this one's called Lake Rules. This is one large background stamp, but you can use these little sentiments individually, and I'll show you how to do that later on. But this will be really fun, and I love all of the fun lake-inspired sentiments on there. And then I had the August. This is the months of the year, August. These are awesome. There's one for every month, tons of title options on there. And then of course, just fun, different embellishments or stamping images we can turn into embellishments and decorate our pages. So I'm going to be using this today. And then this one, I absolutely think it's gorgeous. It's called At the Lake, and everything shaded in this like turquoise color has a coordinating thin cut available if you like the thin cuts, which I do. And I love this. Keep it real, but it's spelled like a fishing reel, and then lake hair, don't care. And I just think this little lady here is just so pretty with her windswept hair and her little sun hat there. So I want to use this on today's layout. And then I have one more. I know so many of you are going to be super excited about this stamp. Now, this will be available September 1st. This launches with the new annual catalog that Close to My Heart will be releasing September 1st. This is called Perfectly Imperfect Patterns. Now, say that fast a bunch of times, right? Perfectly Imperfect Patterns. Now, if you guys have been watching my channel for a while, you know how much I love my Strokes of an Artist stamp, and it has these really cool like ink splotchy background and texture options. And so I'm so excited that they have a new one, and a lot of you have said how you've been searching for that Strokes of an Artist, so I know this will make you super happy. So let me get this all cleaned up and then we will jump in and get started. I have my VersaMat, and I'm going to bring in this wood grain paper for my base. Now this sheet is already cut, and I did get something on it right there, so I'll have to figure out how to get creative and cover that up. But I'm going to leave that as is, and then this piece is 8 inches by 12. Again, it's leftover. It was 12 by 12, but I've printed my photos in 3 by 3 squares plus that little white margin. So I think if I cut this blue paper into a square, that'll work well. I'm moving my photos around so that we are looking into the frame instead of kind of out of it, if that makes sense. So that one works well on the right side, and this will leave me room for a title. Now I thought I'd bring in this pattern paper here, but then I thought, hey, this is a great opportunity to create our own patterned background paper with stamping, right? So I have a piece of almond cardstock here, and we're going to use the Lake Rules stamp. Now, this is one large stamp, as I mentioned in the beginning. You can peel it off and put it on a block, or if you saw Chelsea's video, she left it right on the carrier sheet and inked it up and used it that way. I happen to have the Misty Memory. It's a stamping platform, and so I thought this would be a good opportunity for me to use this. You absolutely do not have to have a stamping platform. I've had it a while, and I usually don't use it in my videos because I don't want you to think you have to have one. And it's also very big. I usually have a just pile of crafty goodness around me when I'm creating, and I have to clear a spot to use it. I have my stamp mounted to the Misty door. I'm using toffee ink and I'm going to tap, tap, tap that all over my stamp. And then we can just close the door. You want to give it a good press. It helps if you have like a soft cloth or if you're wearing long sleeves. And you can see I didn't quite put enough pressure, so we can line it right back up until we get a nice crisp image. So I'm going to repeat that because there's a few areas that need a little bit more inking, and then I'm going to do the same process for the bottom. So I'm lining my stamp up where I want it on the paper, secure it with the magnet, pick it up with the Misty door, and then we're just inking and repeating as necessary. So I think that looks pretty good. Look how fun this is. Now you can do this with little stamps as well. You can do random stamping and create beautiful backgrounds with your stamp. So that's the first way we're incorporating stamping onto our layouts. I also want to add a little bit more background stamping with this wave pattern here. Now, when you have long stamps like this, I recommend just laying them down and then picking them up with your acrylic block, and that usually will allow them to be nice and straight. I have sapphire ink and a couple strips of white daisy cardstock. So again, in essence, we're making more pattern paper to add to our layout. Since I'm going to stamp off the edge, I want to put down that printer paper just to protect my little foam mat there. And when you stamp with the foam underneath, you get a better impression because there's, irregularities and abnormalities in your table surface, or there could be, and you won't get as nice of an image. So put that foam behind whatever you're stamping and it's very helpful. I want to work on my title, so I have a 3x3 white daisy square, sage ink, and then I'm going to bring in that perfectly imperfect pattern stamp. I'm using this center image here. I have that mounted on a block and I'm rubbing it on my arm just to season it. And now we can ink it up in our sage ink, and I'm going to create some background interest to highlight my title. Notice how you get different depths of color. It's like a multi-dimensional stamp. It's so cool. I've rotated my stamp, I'm pressing down again, and now we're going to bring this Lake Life stamp, and I've offset that on my block, so I've altered it just a little bit, and they're two different, so you can leave it all in one row or put them right on top of each other, use the words independently, lots of ideas. So we'll stamp that right over our sage green background, and then I want to finish off the edge with just a little bit of sapphire ink. I'm using my ink blending tool to just go around the edges there. I went ahead and pre-stamped my embellishments here. I have stamped these in intense black ink because I'm going to color those in with my Spectrum Noir tri-blend markers. But then I decided I wanted to stamp my Adirondack chair on this almond paper. So we'll just give that a good press right there. And I think that's going to just add some nice color to it rather than having it on white paper. Now that I've let my title dry a little bit, I thought it would be fun to dress it up just a bit with some clear embossing powder. So because these are clear acrylic stamps, we can see through them and line them back up. I'm using my sticky VersaMat embossing ink, and I'm going to give that a good press. And then if you had blue embossing powder, you could use that, but I don't have any. So I'm using clear, and we're just going to go over the top of it. So tap off the excess powder. You can hold it with tweezers or a clothespin, and then I'm just heating it from the back so you can see that, but see how nice and saturated that color is? And it's probably fairly unimpressive to you guys, but to me, I can see this beautiful, shiny, glossy finish that the embossing powder gives. So far, we've added stamping by creating that beautiful patterned background piece there that was completely customizable by choosing the cardstock and the ink colors. And we've also created more pattern paper with these cute little wave elements here that I'm going to tuck both in the top and the bottom. And since I have those measurement lines on my VersaMat, it makes it super easy to line those up. We've also created our title element with stamping, and I want to mat this on some almond cardstock just to give it a little bit more something, but I love the way that green, that sage green looks stamped in the background behind our Lake Life title. The third way we're going to incorporate stamping into our layout is with stamped images that we are going to color with these Spectrum Noir tri-blend markers and then cut out and use as an embellishment on the layout. I've stamped that Adirondack chair onto almond cardstock, so it already has color, but to really bring these images to life and give them dimension and that 3D feel, that's where the Spectrum Noir Tri-Blends bring in the magic. There's 3 colors in one, and you can create this depth and shading like you see here. I've already went ahead and cut that out off camera, and I'm going to show you just a little bit of coloring on these images here. I have the coral blend and the dull green blend for my flowers. I'm using the dark in the very center and then getting lighter as we go out towards the tips of the petal. And then the same thing on the leaves. I kind of go, on the veining, and the stems will be darker, and then it gets lighter as we blend that out. I do find it very easy to color these tiny images with these markers. They allow you to get into those tiny little spots. So for our little pretty lady here, for her hair, I have the earth brown blend, and her hat, the muted brown. And then for her dress, the coral color, and then I'm going to use the fair skin for her skin tone. We have all of our stamped embellishments colored and cut out. Look at that shading on her dress, so pretty. I did also cut a couple tags from the Tabs and Tags thin cuts that we'll be using on the layout. And I do want to point out that the coordinating die would cut an outline, but I took my scissors and gave her a little fine tuning and removed the white paper from around her legs also. So I have one of the zip strips here, and this is like the branding strip, and it actually has all of the colors from my layout, even that coral color in there. So I thought that was really cool. And I'm going to underline my title. I'm going to dovetail one end of it there that'll be peeking out on the left-hand side. So we'll just get this adhered right here. And then we can start bringing in all of those fun embellishments that we created. I think the Adirondack chair will look really cute layered over the bottom of this corner here. And then the way she has her hand, we're going to make it so it's resting on the back of the chair. You could have her holding one of these, floral sprigs as well, but I like her against the chair. And then I'm thinking maybe we'll overlap this one here to hide the bottom of that stem and kind of connect it to the chair. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know I like to use die cut shapes to kind of create the base layer for my embellishments. So for today's layout, I have these tags, and I'm going to nestle them right in this upper corner, and you'll notice it's intentionally offset. It's on a diagonal from the embellishments in the lower left corner. This is going to create balance and draw your eye across the layout. I want to repeat that coral color, and I also have a little stamp sentiment. This is the bottom half of that tag. I flipped it over and stamped right on the pattern paper. We always think to stamp on cardstock, but it's fun to stamp on the pattern paper too. I also did this little camera, which is from the months of the year August stamp, little camera there. And then the Lake Hair Don't Care from At the Lake. Her coral dress was so vivid in the lower right-hand corner, I needed more of that color up top. So that camera was just what it needed. I feel so lucky to have such a good friend that I get to vacation with every year. She has boys the same age as mine, and our husbands get along. It's really quite the perfect situation. So this summer we went on a road trip and went to so many places. One of our stops was South Dakota, and we would get up really early and do our hiking and exploring and bike riding when we kind of had the place to ourselves. And in the afternoon we would go to this lake for like 3 days in a row and just relax and paddleboard and swim. And it was so amazingly beautiful. I'd never been to South Dakota before, and wow, it was gorgeous. I'm so glad that we made it that far over, and definitely will be back. It's just worth the drive. This is a zip strip off of the pattern paper. It's the branding strip, and on one side they always have these fun patterns, so I thought that'll look neat, kind of tucked off to the left-hand side. And then I'm bringing this designer ribbon in from my stash. It's kind of funny, I just used another ribbon from this pack on a layout last week, and it's like it's been sitting in my stash all these years, and then all of a sudden I'm using it on layouts left and right. It's always fun to do that. So I'm tying a little bow here, and I'm just kind of fussing with it. I want to make sure everything is nice and even. I'm not the best bow tire. I've tried a different couple techniques, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I actually don't like the way the bow looks, so I'm just going to loop these through the tag and keep it simple. I love that this ribbon matches so well. That's one of my favorite things about using primarily close to my heart is the color coordination. It really just keeps it simple, and you don't have to have like 10 shades of red. You know what I'm saying? If you guys have favorite ways that you love to use your stamps, I would love to hear about them because I'm always picking up ideas from you guys. But look at this layout. I mean, I love the way it turned out. And aside from those two little tags up top, the die cut tags, we've got a lot of stamps going on. We've created our background here, and then again, more background pattern paper here and here. And then our title, we've created stamping in the background and then stamped the letters over the top. And then of course, all of our stamped embellishments in our clusters on the top and bottom of the layout. The rest of the creative design team has been sharing awesome ideas all week long, and tomorrow you can tune back in to see what Lisa has in store for you. Here's a playlist right here where you can catch the rest of those videos. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.